Anybody growing up in Kenya, I'm supposed to say East Africa, but I'm saying Kenya. Anybody growing up in Kenya in the 60s and 70s, Easter was always associated with Safari Rally. Easter was associated with Safari Rally. Imagine Easter is a long holiday, 4 days, and those 4 days, if not taken care of, they are very long and boring days. I hope my bishop did not hear that. So you find that those who are youths in the 60s and 70s used to see the Safari Rally Easter weekend as Safari Rally weekend, and we used to enjoy it and see it so short. I will come to that. So there was no difference between Safari Rally and Easter. And remember, in many years, especially in those years before we had climatical changes, it was you could predict when the rain would start, because there are some occasions which we believed that God had ordained to be rainy days. For example, when the year started, December used to be a drought season. So somewhere in January, whatever, there would be some very slight rains. There would be very slight rains that farmers would say that was the one to prepare land for the first plowing. Then the main rains would come around Easter holiday, and that is when they would use that as rain for planting. And planting is also had come also during the time when schools had closed, so there was labor there. Such things used to happen, but because of climatical changes, it can rain at any time. A drought can come at any time. That we have to agree with that. So during our time, there was the Safari Rally, and we used to call it SAFOH. SAFOH. Safari Rally, initially it started off as East African Safari Rally. It started off as East African Safari Rally, and it would start in one. They used to rotate. They used to rotate. You'd find one of the three countries would launch it. That is, it would either start in Dar es Salaam and end in Dar es Salaam, or it would start in Kampala and end in Kampala, or start in Nairobi and end in Nairobi. So they used to rotate. But a casual look at the safari rallies of the 60s, you'll notice that half of it used to be starting from Nairobi and ending at Nairobi. And then most of what remains would start in Dar es Salaam. Very few occasions did it start in Kampala. I was too young to know why, although it was during Obote's initial rule. Before things went south, before tension became for the three countries, that is how it used to happen. But then things started going south until it ended up being the Safari Rally for Kenya only. The Safari Rally was started in commemoration of the installation of Elizabeth as Queen Elizabeth II. Did you know that Elizabeth II was called Elizabeth Regina? Elizabeth Regina II. So when she became the queen in 1952, some people decided to start a rally. Actually, they even started calling it coronation, but it continued and continued. It just like a mountain, it raised to the top, and later on went down. Went down. Nowadays, it's a useless thing that people go to Naivasha, not even on the Easter holiday. They go to Naivasha, drink and make scene. And even when they are drinking and whatever, they don't know who the safari rally drivers are, and so on and so forth. I will concentrate on the safari rallies of the 70s, especially 73, 74, and 75. 76 to 79, I was in secondary school, but I have very little to say about safari rally. I followed safari rally mostly in those 3 years, but for the next 10 years, from 75 to 85, I followed it from a distance. I think the last time I was interested in safari rally was 1985. Safari rally used to happen during Easter holidays, as I've said. It made the long holiday and short, and people are glued to their radios, following the cars wherever they were. Black and white TVs were few, and it was for the super rich. We would be told that when the cars reached this or that place, the leading car had lost so many points. It was so easy for us to follow it because we used to know that it reaches a certain place, so and so has lost so many points and whatever. And they used even to have a situation where they would meet the last. You could be ahead of me on the road, but I have lost fewer points than you, so I'm leading. They used to have a place near the finishing point where they would then arrange vehicles now to arrive according to the number of points lost. It was so easy to know, even for people who were less educated or not educated, to know what is happening. When they changed the system and started something like lost hours and whatever, we got confused, and you find that it even lost the meaning. Uh, every place where the cars reached, they would find cheering crowds. Everywhere they went, they would find a lot of people cheering them, and it was a memorial thing it was a very good thing to remember. But in a certain region in Kenya, they used to be welcomed by stone throwers. I will not mention the place, since people will start saying that I have issues with that tribe. But if you ask anybody of my age or even older than me, they tell you that there is a certain area in Kenya, for reasons that we may never know, or if there is an elder in that place of my age or older, he or she, especially he, would do us a favor to tell us why they used to find it enjoyable to, whenever the vehicles used to drive near their place, they would throw stones at them. We used to close school on Thursday before lunch. We used to close school on Thursday before lunch because the following day is Good Friday. Actually, those are the days when Good Friday was good, because after closing school, we would really enjoy safari run. On that Thursday, Holy Thursday, is the day that we would volunteer not to have lunch. We would be given report form in school. We would rush home, place the report forms at a strategic place, because that is on the closing days during our time is when you had to review your report form twice. You had reviewed your report form twice. First of all, when the teacher is giving you, the class teacher is giving you report form, why are you good in this and very bad in this? Musomo. And then from there, you would take it home. And in the evening, uh, you'd face your parents. And if you had a parent like Lando, Nyayo torture chamber was better by far. Nyayo torture chamber was better by far. So on Thursday, we would get the report forms before, if I can remember now, I think it was around 10 a.m. You are through with school. When you are through with the school, you rush home, you place your report form at a strategic place, change, rush to go and see the safari. I'm talking as somebody who was in Bagadi Road Primary School. So we would rush to town to see the vehicle being flagged off. That is what we used to do. Initially, the cars used to start and end at City Hall. Just you see the main gate to KICC and the City Hall. Just somewhere there, they used to place there the ramp, which was the starting ramp and also the finishing ramp. But later on in the mid 70s or towards the end of the 70s, they transferred the starting and ending ramp inside KICC, inside the KICC, so that the vehicles would leave or enter through the gate that is opposite the gate to the parliament. KICC has changed names severally. KICC has changed names severally. The initial name for KICC used to be Canoe Building. Canoe Building. When it was being built, it used to be called Canoe Building. Immediately the day of the official opening, just like the official opening of Pan Paper in Webuye, changed the name of the town from Broad Lake Falls to Webuye Falls. It is the same with the Kenyatta Conference Center. Changed its name from Canoe Building to Kenyatta Conference Center, KCC. That is where the Safari Rally used to start. And when announcers would be announcing on radio and TV, but mostly radio, because those who owned the TV were too rich to go and crowd at a place. So those people who used to listen to the radio, and they were being told, ukitaka uhondo kuja KCC. There is a joke that some people went to Dandora, where there was the milk company, and and they didn't find any vehicle. The only vehicle they found were milk lorries. I don't know whether that one is the one that caused the Kenyatta Conference Center to change its name to Kenyatta International Conference Center. But recently, it changed into another name that is, they retained the initials KICC, but now it is called Kenyatta International Convention Center. Where I come from, my rural home, there's a junction where people would not be careful when they are staying there. It was a T Junction, and we used to find that the vehicles would come from Lugari, and some would even forget that there is a T Junction, or they would not know that they have reached the T Junction, and they would just plug through the other side. And people used to sit there dangerously. So people started calling it Soko Mjinga or Konambaya. I think the name that they used most was Konambaya, not Soko Mjinga. They started calling it Konambaya. And somebody, I can't recall the name of the person, who said, hey, you look down at this junction, you call it Konambaya, Konambaya. One day, a plane, not an helicopter, one day a plane will land here. In 1985, during the Safari Rally, at that junction, it's called Luho Junction. A lot of people had placed, those Safari Rally people, you had placed that place to be, what do you call, where they refuel the vehicle, they do whatever, they change tires and so on, but not a checkpoint. It is a place where they would, and even the drivers would maybe have a quick gulp of water. So when they were organizing that, uh, there is a, they placed in somebody's land. Nowadays, you do that, you pay that person, isn't it? But those days, you do that, somebody would boast the whole town and say, "You see, Safari Rally was done in my on my land." Nowadays, you do that, the person will take you to court, or you'll have to pay for. So when they were having that field and whatever, there was an helicopter that landed there. For a long time, people started remembering the person who had long died, who had said, "You look down upon this junction, but one day this junction, this training center will be an airport." Okay, he said the planes will land here, but he meant something like an airport. That is why most of the people whom we call kina sijui Socrates, kina whatever, the philosophers, I think these are the people who used to talk of things that people of that time would think this fellow must be crazy. Imagine when people used to think that the sun used to go around the earth, and somebody tells you, no, it is the earth that goes around the sun. People would say, something wrong with his head. But many years later, and would spend uh, they would spend centuries castigating you. But after centuries, when scientific things come and prove you are right, they come and say, there used to be somebody who used to say that. But a good number of the so-called philosophers are people who are just crazy, who are talking things which cannot happen. And we just call them philosophers because whatever they said came to pass. In 1973, Shekameta and Lofty Drews won the Safari Rally in a Datsun 120Z. When they entered the Safari Rally, they registered themselves as Kenyans. Lofty Drew was a European of Kenyan European, but Shekameta's history was Shekameta belonged to the Meta family. If you know Uganda and even Kenya, the Meta company is very much known on sugar factories. So Shekameta belonged to the Meta family, and you can remember he won they won the race, the Safari Rally in 1973, and in 1972, I think it was 1972, Idi Amin had chased away Asians or even Indians from Uganda, and among the people who were chased away was Shekameta. So Amin congratulated him when Shekameta won the Safari Rally. Amin congratulated him and said Uganda is proud for a Ugandan to have won the election. We had people who are very much known, people like Joginda Singh. He was very famous. He was nicknamed Simba wa Kenya. He was nicknamed Simba wa Kenya. Joginda Singh was, I don't know whether it is Safari Rally that made him rich or he was rich on his own, but Joginda Singh had a house along Loita Street. He had a house along Loita Street. He sold the house to the Libyan government. But you know what he did? He moved out of Kenya and sold the house to the Libyan government. It gave the Kenyan government a lot of headache because that land was a private land. It was a private land. There was no way the government could interfere. And Libya had paid him, and they paid him the money in London, where he had migrated to. Why would okay, Kenya was not on good terms with Libya. Kenya was not on good terms with Muammar Gaddafi. The government did not want Libya to have an embassy here. But then, of all places, Libya bought a land that was next to Nyati House. I can tell you, uh, I was being harassed by some DCI people at I upload things, secrets of NIS. You know nothing. No nothing. It's like me talking French. Na hata Kiingereza ujui. NIS people know. NIS people know that I'm not supposed to talk about current and upcoming threats to security. So, talking about Libya acquiring Joginda Singh's plot, apart from Libya being on bad books with Kenya and so on and so forth, it was also strategic that they used that opportunity to monitor and try and espionage Nyati House. Of course, Nyati House was not happy because by then Nyati was the headquarters of our headquarters. But then they were also happy that Libya embassy was near there, so they could monitor and espionage them. That is how you now understand why Libya has an embassy next to Nyati House. Joginda Singh, the other reason why Joginda Singh was also called Lion of Kenya, every Kenyan used to be proud of him. But then there is a time when he competed in a Mitsubishi, one of the Mitsubishi vehicles, and his vehicle was number 17. Number 17, you can place it as NO, then 17, isn't it? Number 17, NO 17. Now, if you write NO 17 in capital and then you overturn it, it becomes lion. If you just take your pen, write somewhere NO 17, then overturn it so that the bottom becomes the top and the top becomes the bottom. You'll find that it is lion. We had people like Hanu Mikola. We had Africans. We had the first person to go there was Peter Shiuka, but later on Patrick Njiru became an in-house thing. The first time I saw Patrick Njiru participating in it, I sympathized with him. But then Patrick Njiru, to me, is like Mick Weche T9. These are people who, if I can compare Mick Weche with his brother was called Patrick Olei. Patrick Olei was a much, much better footballer than Mick Weche. But Mick Weche loved football. He slept, dreamed, whatever football. So some of these things is not just talent or anything. It is your heart taking you there. I remember seeing Patrick Njiru when he has started off, and he would tell people there, the bystanders, tafadhali saidia kusukuma gari. I told you of my place being turned into a service area, where the helicopter landed. So these service areas, the driver and co-driver would get out, and then there was somebody there who they would exchange quick words. How was it? Whatever. He would quick talkings, like just the way you have seen boxers when they are between rounds. They go to the corner. There is somebody who is now coaching him. Blah blah blah. That's quick. And then there is different people. There are those people who are exchanging wheels. There are those people who are washing the windscreen. There are those people. But the driver and co-driver are taking is it a quick soda or is it a quick water? And while they are talking to the manager, they are talking or exchanging ideas in a very quick session. But Patrick Njiru, when I saw him first time, stopped at the place. Coincidentally, I was at that place. Stopped there, called wananchi saidieni, and wananchi assisted him because of only one thing. It was full of foreigners and he was the only Kenyan there. So you find that he's even telling you, spana zungusha hivi sijui nini. Later on, he was identified by sponsors. That is why you see these vehicles are written Cabras Sugar, whatever. These people invest a lot of money. That is why you find when you reach in a service center, there are so many people. There are those who are changing tires, those who are filling fuel in the vehicle, who are doing what, and you are there just taking water, sipping water, and being told whatever. But without those, that is why you find those vehicles uh, with a lot of advertisement, cabra sugar, such things. Those things come because of those people put there a lot of things. As I am about to tell the cameraman to switch off, I would tell you that there is a year when Marlboro is a cigarette company. So it was at one time it was called Marlboro Safari Rally. It brought a lot of problems because people are complaining that the vehicles were, you see, you cannot paint cabra sugar there, isn't it? And all the vehicles were painted Marlboro Safari Rally, and being painted as Marlboro Safari Rally. When their pictures are taken from above through an helicopter, they look like it is cigarette packet that are going from or throughout. Safari Rally Limited could not do nothing about it. They just waited until the years for Marlboro, the contract they had signed to end, and they never went back. Marlboro Safari Rally was also a problem because of religious and social and whatever. Some countries and some places do not or did not encourage advertisement of things like alcohol and tobacco products and so on and so forth. I can tell you, you can see me smiling from ear to ear. Ask any age mate of mine would say that Safari Rally made Easter be like Christmas. Have a nice time.